don't know what's going to happen next. That's what I want to talk about next, and then we'll come back to the short side. Right now, we currently are undergoing a period where the Fed is about to begin tightening. The last time that happened, Bitcoin continued to trade off significantly. In this case, it was another 30%. We don't know what happens next. We don't know whether or not we look at some type of period. This model over here is really, it's my base case for what I believe happens on Bitcoin. But this model suggests before the halving in 2024 that Bitcoin will be making a new all-time high. It also suggests by January 2023, Bitcoin could be trading or should be trading at $58,000. That's considering that the current rate of adoption continues. Everything is suggesting that. There's nothing suggesting that adoption is the rate of adoption is changing on Bitcoin. It's currently a little over 100% a year. That's the same slope we have over here. I think it's aggressive. I think that it's a lot more comfortable for people to be looking at Bitcoin right now and saying that, well, there's a good chance that something like this happens. This is just structurally lining up off November, the all-time high, to the past all-time highs. And then also this chart has the March 2024 halving on it. Generally speaking, Bitcoin, as it comes into that halving date, is approximately 50% off the all-time high. So I expect that Bitcoin is around $30,000 in March of 2024. And between here and there, it could trade off significantly. It could trade off 85% off the all-time high. That takes us back down to $10,000 if we're seeing something similar take place. And I think that's a view that really needs to be considered. Now, if you're poking a hole in that view, it would be that, well, the 4-year cycle behavior has changed. And the halving is priced in right now. And this halving is not going to have an effect on Bitcoin because the dynamics inside Bitcoin, including the U.S. public miners, have drastically changed, including exchanges and the fees that they put onto the market in Bitcoin. By the way, in bear market, exchange fees go drastically down. Right now, exchange fees are drastically down. But even if you're looking at this particular view, though, from where we are today into where we're looking to go, March 2024, usually what happens is there is a big front running of that halving event. That is more, I think, psychological behavior of investors. I do believe while there will be a debate on whether or not the 2024 Bitcoin halving is priced in or not, I still believe there will be a certain segment of the participants that are going to try to front run that halving. And you could see some type of behavior that we've seen in the past where Bitcoin bottoms and then has a big move up before the halving. What happens in between? Are we looking at $10,000 Bitcoin? Are we looking at something like $14,000, $15,000 Bitcoin, maybe a 70-something% correction instead of an 85% correction, diminishing volatility? Or are we looking more along the lines of something like this taking place? And structurally, the top was in April. And we are in a region right now where we are getting ready to bottom and should really be swifting up. Even if we go a lot sideways like happened in 2015 into the 2016 halving, at that point, is it potentially possible Bitcoin's bottom is either in right now or is closer to somewhere around 22,000? Those are really the only ways that you could look at Bitcoin right now that I see it, or maybe these are the most bullish ways that I could view Bitcoin and look at Bitcoin. But I am entirely bullish on Bitcoin, and I understand the macro, and I understand, or I try as hard as I can at all times. By the way, if you're watching this session on this Friday and you enjoy being here, whether it's live or you're watching this on the replay this weekend, please go ahead and smash the like button as we continue to put this all together here in real time together. The way that I view Bitcoin is extremely bullish. I'm looking at the adoption taking place, and I'm trying to put together the correlation between adoption and price. And in an environment where not conversation is not always welcomed, especially when it's taking place on Twitter. And it's more like you have to have like one opposing viewpoint or the other rather than say, look, I mean, is it possible that before 2024, before November 2023, price makes a new all-time high? Because that would be weird. Price doesn't normally do that before the halving. Price normally on Bitcoin does that after the halving. Is it possible that price breaks outside of that $22,000, that lower log trend line? You know, that would be weird. What is happening that will cause Bitcoin, as the adoption rate continues, price to deviate so far from the mean line? The mean line over here is the green line. And we expect for price to be above it most of the time. This is one of the few occasions in the life of Bitcoin ever since 2015, the facing reality stage. You could even go back further and say into March, February 2013, price trades above it. Yeah. Are we looking at some type of, because of the new structure taking place? The new structure of Bitcoin taking place that was first presented by Willy Woo had everything to do with this technology model right here and the adoption of Bitcoin. And that what was causing that exponential move up as we enter the ultimate market opportunity. Regardless of what happens from here and going forward, there's not a better way to execute than with CTM 2.0. And if the question is, why have we evolved from CTM 1.0, which was quite elegant, to something else? And it's simply because that it offers a superior solution. That's how we got to this view where I'm looking at the worst case scenario, or I should say what my worst case scenario for Bitcoin is. And it doesn't mean that means it's going to even work out. Like, things could be bad and or worse. It's just not within my realm of view. The worst way that I see Bitcoin would be coming off 85%, and by March 2024, trading roughly 50% off the all-time high, or 30,000. And what happens in between, I have no idea. I would imagine that there's a good chance price goes lower, and I would imagine before it reached this area over here, there was a pretty tremendous bull run in there. A smaller one like we've seen in past this time of cycle. But that's my worst case scenario. And if that's the worst case scenario, I think it's a good one. And I think that it offers the most people the most opportunity, because there's the most time involved in order to continue to building a position into Bitcoin. And a lot of people, there's a segment of people who don't like to hear that, because they where's Bitcoin $100,000? And I want Bitcoin $100,000, and that's fine, and they have every right. But the fact is that the people, and a lot of these people here, don't own Bitcoin yet. And as many people that it's possible to get who don't own Bitcoin in this area and to begin accumulating in Bitcoin in this area, that's going to make Bitcoin a lot stronger, because I am in the camp that Bitcoin is going to make new all-time highs. Now, my worst case scenario, again, is that's sometime after the March 2024 halving. Does that align with the macro? Well, it does seem to align with the macro in that right now the Euro future markets are pricing in the Fed pivoting to easing in 2024, and yeah, so even though they're tightening now and they're raising rates now, if I wanted to take this long-term view that I base around the halving and past Bitcoin behavior and cycle, again, we already talked about it. The person poking the hole in it would be like, well, Bitcoin's halving no longer has an effect on the market. It's a new structure. And I mean, I agree with that, and I agree most with that. And I view that structure more like we peaked in April over here, and there's a good chance that we are bottoming out in this area over here, and we'll soon be drifting up. And then I tried to look at it and view it like this. And again, it's an aggressive model, because there's not too much. It's only 6 months between now and the end of the year, and a lot of fear and worry. and potentially rightfully so, has Bitcoin trading a lot lower around that time. So that's the purpose of having these ideas. Now, these ideas are best executed using CTM 2.0. By the way, this is CTM 2.0 on the daily on grayscale. And why there was a small loss in this period over here, it has had you outside of the market ever since, November 2021, which is the top. And the value in that is just, you can't put a price on it. There are some people out there who have ideas, and I'm talking about some people in CTM 2.0, about like if Bitcoin were to trade back to or up to $100,000, they might like to take some profits, and how they'd like to move in and out of Bitcoin by having the ability or the advantage not to have to guess about when might be a good time to be in or when might not be a good time to be in the market. CTM 2.0, the way that it delivers on that is it's exceptional. Now, being out of the market all of this time, even if you're looking at buy side only on CTM 2.0 and you're just out of the market this whole time, that in itself is obviously priceless. We continue to wait. That's going to get us back into the market. Now, when that happens, I have no idea. I hope, going off of my adoption model, I hope that by September, the latest into October, the fall of 2022, that price is trading 32,000 or above. It's got a lot of work to do from there. If you zoom out a little bit and you look at the channel that we broke out of, that should be major resistance on the way up. It's something overhanging us. And you could see how long it tested as support. After the clean break, it hasn't even been tested. Is it possible that if we're trading at 32,000 come September 2022, because the model price is higher than that. The model price suggests that price should be, the model suggests that Bitcoin in September is trading at $40,000. I'm more looking or interested in price being in this deviation when it goes below and just waiting for that recovery out and just giving something to track off of. If price is trading below $20,000 over the summer, I don't think in September we'll see. Why it's tough out there. At the same time, I'm focused always with moving forward. The tools that we've built, they always say build during a bear market. The tools that we've built here, now it was first released in March, but a lot of that work taking place over January and February, and of course everything we've done prior leading up to it. But the tools that we have now going forward, I believe, are the best of the best. There's no question about that, and that we have to continue. So right now, that's saying, well, these are my views. Like I view it like this, and I just want everyone to realize, if you're viewing the Bitcoin from the same vantage point I am, what that means is that Bitcoin is going to be making a new all-time high before the 2024 halving. I don't think many people believe that's possible. I think that people right now, look, the markets are crashing right now. S&P 500 entering bear market, and it's been a slow, grueling, straight down crash. It's a slow motion train wreck that keeps going, and that's what's made it entirely difficult. And that continues. And a lot of people, as you see at the height of any bear market, continues, that's going to keep going. And potentially this one hasn't even really begun, that it just begun when we took out that low of March 2020 over here. That potentially that's when these things are beginning, and we could be going down for lower for longer. That's obvious. So people are very right to hold that view for sure. So I'm just pointing out, listen, if you espouse or this view, that's not what Bitcoin is pricing in. So what does that mean to you? And let's think about that. And then why I'm presenting that potential possibility of Bitcoin making a new all-time high, even in light of current circumstances before the halving. I want to show traditionally what happens, and that is that, traditionally price is about halfway off, 50% off its all-time high coming into that halving date. And between now and then, it could go substantially lower. And we'll continue tracking that. But more importantly, here are the tools, regardless of what happens, how to profit in these circumstances. When you combine it with the long side, which obviously is more profitable, at these areas where you just sidelined on the long side, like between here and here, just being sidelined is good, right? But if you're increasing your purchasing power in this area by 20%, whenever that long side continues upwards, you're in an even greater position of power.